So in this session, we're going to discuss about moving the cubes from one environment to another environment. The second environment may be anything, and the first environment may be anything, like development to production, or development to staging, or development to test environment. And don't get confused or panic with the word environment. Environment is nothing but computers. Let's say this is one computer, and I mean server, better to call it as this is one, and this is one, and this is one. In the top class company, we'll have 4 different environments. One is development environment. Next one is test environment, where the testing will be done by the testing team. Next one is staging. And the fourth one is production. No guy will have access to this. Why? Because this will be directly accessed by the clients. So this is the place where we develop, where we will generate or design our cube. Okay. Once the definition and the creation of the cube is completed, then we will move it to test environment, where the testing team will be testing it. If testing team says that there are some issues, then we will fix the same issues here, and again we will move it to the testing team. This procedure will be continued until the issues are closed. No major or no showstoppers or no critical issues are there in the cube you developed. Once it is through, then they will move it to staging environment. Here this staging environment and this production environment will be very close in configurations wise, if you see. So from here they'll move to production, and all the reports or something, whatever the end user, I mean third party tools or whatever it may be, will be accessing to the cube that is present in the production. So once the users raise any issue here saying that the particular piece of code is not working as expected, then we will fix it here again. We'll fix it in the development, move it to the test environment, testing team will test it, then move to the production, and move to the staging, and then move to the production. So this is the flow generally, and most of the companies are going for cost cutting their budget. So most of the companies are having only development and directly to production. So people will develop here, people will test here, people will deploy it and again check it here, then directly deploying to the production. So if the company is not pretty big and if they can't offer more budget on servers, then they will go for 1 or 2 servers. That means 1 or 2 systems with high configuration, or else if it is pretty big company, then they'll go for 4 different servers. One is development, test environment, staging, and production. So this is how it flows. If you want to move the cube from either from here to here, is equal to moving the cube from here to here. The procedure that will be involved will remain the same. So that is why in general we can call it as moving the cube solution from one server to another server. Now let's see what are the different types that are available in moving the cube from one server to another server. I worked on so many cube solutions till date. So as far as I know, there are a couple of options. One is copy, backup and restore. Next one is direct deploy. Third one is copy solution and deploy. Fourth one is copy wizard, analysis services wizard, analysis services DB file and deploy. And fifth one is synchronization. Okay, these are all the different types I tried till now. There may be so many different other ways, but who is aware? I mean, people will come up with new ideas always, but there is no standard way of deploying. You can follow any one of these, but among these things, if you ask me, I feel synchronization is the best option. Synchronization is the best option to do that. Now, to check any one of these, to try any one of these, what we need to have? We need to have 2 servers. From one server to another server we are planning to move, so we need to have two servers, but we don't have two in my local machine. I have only one server. I have only one computer. This is standalone computer. This is not connected to any other server. That means I don't have second server to move. So that means I cannot help you guys in explaining how to move from one server to another server. But what I have done was I have installed another instance of the same SQL server. If you go to SQL Server 2008 R2, you won't find anything fishy here, nothing different. But in fact, I installed two versions. One is default version, that is SQL Server. Another one is SQL Dev environment. SQL Dev is the instance name I install in this particular computer. To know how many instances are running in your computer, okay, what you have to do is you have to go to configuration tools, go to SQL Server configuration manager. Here you will come to know how many instances are running in your machine. If I go to SQL Server, you can see for SQL Server service, MS SQL Server instance is there, as well as SQL Dev instance is there. Right? You can see it clearly. In the same way, for analysis services, you can see SQL Dev instance and MS SQL Server instance. So this means that I install one more instance. Just now, before the start of the session, I have done this just to demonstrate how the cubes can be moved from one server to another server. Generally, one server is different computer, but in our case, I will treat this one as one server and this one as one server. MS SQL Server instance as one server and SQL Dev instance as one server, and I will demonstrate all the 5 ways of moving the queue from one solution to one server to another, and let's see one by one. There is one more way to identify how many instances are there in your computer. Let's see what is that way. Go to my computer where your SQL Server is installed. I think it's program files 86, Microsoft SQL Server, somewhere here. Not this, sorry, it is program files here, Microsoft SQL Server, somewhere here. Here you can see MSAS means Microsoft Analysis Services. You have MS SQL instance and SQL Dev instance. So that means I have two instances of Microsoft SQL Server Analysis Services, two instances of reporting services, two instances of SQL Server. So this is one other place where you can find out how many instances are there in your computer. So first let's start with the first way. The first method is backup and restore. So this is very important one. You will come to know about how to take backup also and how to restore the cube also. So for that, first let me open the solution, how to take backup and restore. So this is the solution. For taking the backup and restore, I don't need to open the solution. But for other purpose, I need to have the solution open. That's why I'm opening this in advance. Okay. What is meant by backup? Backup is nothing but the one which you deployed and processed. You can take the backup of it and you can move it to the different server and you can paste it or restore it in the new server. The steps involved is first to take the backup. Next one, copy the backup file into the server where you are gonna process. Where you are gonna restore. Third step is restore to the database. This is the old and very old way of moving the queue from one solution to one server to another server. Let's see the steps involved. For doing the same, for taking the backup, we need to connect to SQL Server Management Studio for analysis services. So let me go to analysis services. This is localhost. Click on connect. It will connect to MS SQL instance and you can find the database, cube database, whatever we created and processed. You can see it here, right? Now let me connect to the another instance. We have another instance of analysis services, right? The other instance is SQL Dev. This is the new instance, whatever I install, and it is connected. And if you see, there is no database as of now. And you can find the same in the folders it created. This is SQL Server instance. If you go to OLAP and if you see data, you can find the cube related stuff here. Okay, MSBI DB. And this is the file where all the backups will be taken. Like if you take the backup from this particular instance of analysis services, backup will be copied to this folder. Okay, I'll show you what is backup file and all now. And if I go back and go to the another instance, you can see this is the data. Nothing is present in this. No database for no MSBI database. This is fine. Now let's start with taking the backup in the first instance. And you can see this folder is empty as of now. Right? The backup folder for MS SQL Server instance is empty. How to take backup? Taking backup is as simple as this. Right click. You have an option called backup. And the file will be MDF file. If you want, if there is already, if you're taking this backup very frequently, and if there is any file and if you want to overwrite that file, you can check this option, overwrite file. Apply compression means which will compress the file. And if you want to encrypt with a password, very rare cases people go for password if the data is highly secure. So go for password. And the things that you have to remember here is backup file extension is ABF, analysis backup file. MSBI.abf. Whatever the name you want you can give, but this is the default database name, so let it be the same. After checking this, if you click on OK, you can see the backup file is creating here 7391494 KB, and you can see the size will be increasing until the complete backup is taken. Yeah, backup is done, it is taken. The backup, this is the backup file of the cube what we have in MS SQL Server instance. So what is the next step? Next step is moving this one to production server or any other server where you have to restore it. So how can you move this? Generally in real time what people will do is they will copy this file. I've copied it using Control C, or you can see it by right click and I have copied it. What they will do is they will connect to FTP, file transfer protocol, to copy that one in the server where they want to restore it. As of now we don't have the second server here, so that is why what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put into the back folder of the another instance. You guys just assume that you are copying the file into the production server. Let's say this is your production server. You have connected using FTP, file transfer protocol, and don't get panic. What is this FTP and all? FTP is nothing but the way of copying files between servers. So how to connect to FTP? For connecting to FTP, they will give the server first. FTP, you have to give the server name. Let's say the server name is test environment. Again, I'm repeating, server name is nothing but computer name. They will give some computer name. If you type and click on enter, it will search for this particular server. Right now it is not available. It will search for this particular computer and it will ask for ID and password. Guys, please provide ID and password so that I can set the connection. Once you provide the ID and password, all the folders that are shared in that particular computer will be visible here. Then double click and copy wherever you want. Once you copied the server, once you copied the file into the server just like this, then the next step you have to do is you don't have any rights to deploy it into the restore it into the production. So you have to simply drop a mail saying that I copied recent backup file, latest backup file to the production server in so and so file. The mail will be like this. You'll copy the folder wherever you're copying the file, and you'll write like this: admin copy latest file to the server, and please find below the details. Saying that you'll have path, first server, you'll provide the server name, path, you'll provide the path, file name, will provide the file name. Please let me know if you have any concerns. So once you have done this and send a mail to the admin or the client side admin, what they will do is they will come and check into the particular folder whether the latest file is copied or not. If it is copied, then the next step is restoring the database. This is the only thing the clients will know. Okay, so what they will do is they'll go to the connection. This is the server. Okay, they will restore it. Right click, they'll create new database first with the name MSBI, use SQL Server authentication, and click on OK. Now after creating the database, they will right click and you can find the option restore. They click on restore, it will ask you to take you to the file where it is. So if you click on the browse button, it will take you to the instance. You can see MS SQL Server instance /olap/log file, right? You can change it to the file where you have sorry, I have not provided the file name. This is the path where I have copied the file, and this is the file name msbi.abf. So if you see the path, see program files, Microsoft SQL Server, MSAS, the version is, sorry, the instance is SQL dev. This is where we copied olap/backup/ this is the file name. Everything is fine. Which database to be restored? This is the database that is to be restored. This MSBI which I have created. Allow database overwrite. Okay, and overwrite security. If it is encrypted, then you have to provide the password here. Partitions and all, just leave it as is. Nothing to worry here. So if you click on OK, this will restore the database to your new server. And if you click on new query, and if you are able to write some query to the cube, or if you are able to see the tree structure here, then you are good. You can see AdventureWorks cube is selected, and the same thing whatever present in the development environment where we developed the cube is moved to the production environment. So this is how you can move the cube from one server to another server using copy and backup and restore method. The advantage of this one is for taking backup, while this is your development environment, right? This is your development environment. Here, if you are taking the backup, it may take more time, but it won't impact the users who are accessing this cube, right? Let's say I have taken a cube. I have already deployed a cube and users are using this and they raised a simple issue and I fixed it in my development. If I take the backup, it may, let's say it's a big cube and it has taken 30 minutes or 1 hour. Okay, and for moving into the server, it may take 1 hour. In this time, clients will not have any impact. Clients will be accessing this cube until I restore. Once it is moved to the production server or different server, then while restoring, the cube will be unavailable to the users until the cube is restored. Or what people will do is they will keep this MSBI database as is. They don't restore it. They will create a new database saying MSBI underscore current date, like let's say test, or what is the current date? It is 29/12/2012. They'll create a new database. Okay, and listen to this. This is very important. They will restore this database. While restoring is going on, let me select this option, restore, and let me restore it. Backup file. Let me go to the folder. This is the folder and this is the file. So if you observe clearly, we are not restoring the original database. We have created a dummy database and we are restoring the dummy database here. Okay, and if I click on OK, the dummy database will be restoring with the fresh cube and the original will be continuously, users will be accessing the original one. Now this is ready with latest data. So after this is done, what people will do is they will remove this part simply and they will add this part to this one. So this one will become the old or history, and this one will be the latest. If I remove the underscore, if clients are accessing, users are accessing MSBI, they will be getting data from this new one. So this is the easiest way. There will be very less breakage for users who are accessing to the cube. So what they will do, they will fix the issue in development, take the backup, send it to the production, take a new database and restore it into the new database. Once everything is done and fine, rename the database. So this is how they will do. This is the fantastic way, but not the, this is the old way. People are not suggesting this way in recent days. So this is the first way of restoring, and I mean taking the back, moving the cube solution from one server to another server. I'm repeating the steps. First, take the backup, copy it into the production using FTP or any other mode, and then create a new database, restore the new database. Once the restoration is completed and everything is cool, means then you can simply rename the databases. Now let's see the next step. The next one is direct deploy. What is this direct deploy? Let's see what is this direct deploy now. So if I am a good resource and if clients does not have many servers and there is no admin at client side, they don't want all this headache, right? Like if I copy the backup file to the production, there should be someone who can restore it, or else they have to give me full access to the production server so that I can deploy it. Okay, so few companies, few small companies where the policies are pretty less, what people will do is they will give server access to me, to the developer or to the tech lead, so that they can directly go to the properties, go to the deployment. This is our local, right? Slash SQL dev means this is the server. This is the another server, right? Production server or whatever it may be. In our sense, we are treating this one as different environment. And I'm giving a name underscore test. So directly I'm using the solution to deploy the cube into the production by providing the server name and the database name, whatever I wish to. Why I have given test is there is already a database with the MSBI name. That's why I have given test. So now if you see, I'm directly deploying. So direct deploy is only possible when you have access to the server. What is meant by access to the server? If you see, this is the server, this is another server, and this is one server. This is the place where we're developing, and this is the place where we're deploying. If you go to the properties of this, under security, your name should be here under the roles, server administrators. If you don't have your name here, you cannot deploy the cube directly as shown here. Okay, so now this is completed, and if you go to this server and if you refresh on the databases, you can see the database is created, the new database is created. So this is very rarely used one. Why? Because server clients won't give access to the servers generally. But for one project, clients has given access to me so that I was deploying the cubes daily to the production server. Why? Because per day I was deploying some 4 to 5 cubes, and the clients were fed up with the backups I was sending, backup files. Daily 4 backup files I was sending, and they were restoring. So it was headache to them. So what they suggested me is that they have given access to the production server, and I directly deployed the cubes to the production server. So this is the easiest way, easier than any other. And in this case also, people will follow the same technique. They don't deploy with the original name. They will go for some test dummy name, and then once it is completed, remove this test and keep it for the already existing file, that is old file in our sense, and rename it. Why? Because direct process, if the process is gonna take some 1 hour to 3 hours, then till that time users can't wait, right? So users should have access always. So we will deploy with some other name, and then we will restore we will rename the original one with this, and with the backup name, and the backup one or the freshly created one with the original name. So this is how the direct deployment can be done. For the direct deployment, what you need to have is access to the server where you have to deploy the cube. Now let's see the third way: copy solution and deploy. This is very rarely used option, very rare. Copy the solution means instead of going direct server deploy or copying the backup, whenever you have the latest solution, okay, let me go to the solution file, have it somewhere in documents. Sorry, I have it in desktop, I guess. Under projects, this is the latest solution file, right? So once I made some changes, what I will do is I will check into the SVN or VSS. These are source version controllers. So what it will do is it will take the latest from each and every developer. Let's say myself and couple of other guys are working on the same project. Once I have done the fix, what I have to do is I have to right click and there will be an option called check-in. If I check in, this one will be checked into the server. What clients will be doing is clients will be checking out, means taking the fresh copy from the server. If I say that I made the fix and I checked in the code, I'll send a mail to the clients. What they will do, they will check out the latest code, or they'll get the latest code from the server and they will use the code to deploy. Means they will open the solution like this, and with the latest changes, everything, they will right click, properties, give the name, server name, and deploy. That's it. The only difference is here we will have access to the production server. We will give the name and details with the solution we have, and we will deploy. There we will check in the code to the VSS. VSS means it's a versioning control. In the same way, there is another types like SVN, or so many are there. P4, P4S something. So many version controllers are there. So people will be using any one to have the data, all the versions of the code when a person checked in the code, who made change in this particular file. So all the things will be tracking, all the changes will be tracking to the solution file. So if I check in, then if I drop a mail to the admin guys, they will take the latest code from the server, they will open the solution like this, they will right click, deploy, and process the cube in the production server. So this is the third and very rarely used one. You don't find people using this one very frequently. It's very rarely used one. The fourth one is copy analysis services, DB file and deploy. This is pretty interesting one. So you will have analysis services deployed in, installed in your server, right? This option, sorry, what it will do is, as part of this option, first what you have to do is you have to go to the solution. Once you created the project and if you deploy, you will get 4 different files in your DB file, bin folder. Project bin folder, you will get these 4 database files. Okay. What you have to do is you have to copy these 4 files, connect to FTP, just like I explained earlier. Connect to FTP and there will be a folder created for you to copy all those files. Let's say the folder name is DB files. Okay. And now here paste it. Once you pasted the latest DB files, then you drop a mail to the user saying that I copied the database files. Now what that guy will do is, that guy will go to all programs, SQL Server, under analysis services folder, there will be an option called deployment wizard. In the production, I'm not talking about this our environment where we are doing the work. Let's say this is the production and this is the place where we FTP'd the files. So here he will open the deployment wizard and the user has to browse to the database files where we copied in the FTP. FTP in the sense we copied it into the desktop here with the folder DB files. You can see only database file is showing. The first file is showing, right? The remaining files are not showing. They are configuration settings and so on. So if you select the database file and click on next, but remember you need to have copy all the 4 files here, not one. Okay. Then it is taking the server. Localhost / SQL dev, is it fine or not? Yes, it is fine. And what is the database name? If you want to change the server name, you can change it, or else you can keep the same. What is the database name? This is not a MSBI test. So what I'm gonna give here is MSBI testing. This is the database name. Click on next. Here it will ask for a couple of options, like you want to have the same partitions that is already present or the partitions that it carries. This one carries. Okay, retain partitions means it will have the old partitions that is already present in the database, or else it will take the new partitions that it carries. So better go with the first option. Deploy roles. This is about the roles, whether you want to retain the roles or not. Here, retaining the roles are important. Click on next. And everything is fine. Service account, initial catalog, the many things are fine. So click on next. Default processing, full processing, or let's go for full processing. Click on next. I don't want deployment script. If you want, you can check this deployment script, and you can give the location. Into this location, the deployment script will be created. Click on next. So it is processing now, and it is finished successfully. And now I should be able to see one database file. So this is the one which I have deployed and processed now using deployment wizard. So the steps involved in this one is, first deploy your solution. You will get these 4 files, copy these 4 files and paste it into the FTP folder where the production server is present, or any other server to which you want to deploy the latest database, and log into that computer. Go to all programs, Microsoft SQL Server 2008 R2, go to analysis services, and that select deployment wizard, point to this database file and click next, 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 and if you want to change some configurations, you can change it. And this is how you can use deployment wizard to move the database from one server to another server. There is one more way I missed out here. We copied only 5, right? So let me make it as the 6th one. So 5th one, you can use XMLA, not XMLA, DMX. Okay, let me explain you this before going to the last step. If you go to new query or script database as, this is the database. I'm trying to take the script database as, create to new window. That means it will give me new XMLA script for deploying the cube. Sorry, it's XMLA. So this is the script you have to run to create a new cube in your production. So what you have to do is you can copy this into a file and send this file to the users. What that guy will do is, that guy will copy and they will go to the server, and he will take the new query. By taking the new query, they will copy the same. Okay, as you can see here, I copied the same, and there will be some changes to be done, like the name and all. _1, I am giving the name. The remaining things you can keep the same. And if I execute this, you can see executing the query and execution complete. So the script will be copied. I mean, the database skeleton will be copied. After that, you need to process the queue. So this is one way of deploying. If you have the script, this is the easiest way, right? Sending the script to the users. If you send the script through mail also, it is fine. They can copy and they can deploy the cube so that you can come and process after that. Now this cube should be available for browsing. So this is the 5th way of deploying the cube, XMLA. You can send the XML code of the same and you can execute in the production server. And you can see now the cube is ready for access. Right? This is the 5th way of deploying the cube. The 6th way is synchronization. This is my favorite one of the favorite. So how to synchronize? Whenever you want to synchronize, you have to make sure that synchronizing means making sure that 2 servers are having same data, same structure. Let's say I have server 1 and I have server 2. Let me take the pen. Let's say this is my server 1 and this is my server 2. If this is my development environment and if I made so many changes to this, extra changes added to this, then if I sync this with this, then these extra changes what I have done will be copied to this. So this is called synchronization technique. Let's see how this synchronization technique works. For that we need to have two servers. We have two, one is this and another one is this. And in these two servers you have to make sure the same database names are present. I have MSBI here and I should have MSBI so that the synchronization should work. Now let's see how the synchronization will work. There is nothing like copy, paste and all those stuff. What we have to do is go to the production server or the server to where we have to get the latest information. Right click on the databases, you can find the option synchronize. If you click on synchronize, a wizard will open. Here what you have to do is you have to select the source. So localhost is the source and what is the database? The database name is MSBI. That is the only database present in the source. And to where it is going to synchronize? It is going to synchronize to SQL dev. Why? Because I have right clicked on the SQL Server dev environment, right? Dev instance. So the destination will be this one, and the database name you don't have option to select the destination database. Why? Because it will take the same name what we have selected in the source. So click on next. Default folder, everything is fine. Copy all, skip members, everything will just leave it. Synchronize now, or it will give you the script so that you can run the script. So I want to synchronize now. Let me click on this. Now if you see, the source is this, the database name is this, the destination is this, the destination data name, even though we have not selected, it has taken the same. Copy all the database while synchronization. Now everything is fine. So click on finish, it will start the synchronization part. You can see until it is synchronizing, the cube will not be available to the users. So what people will do for reports, there is one way to handle this. See, it has taken very less time. Why? Because there are very less differences between these two. It completed synchronizing. We are done. It has taken very less time. Main advantage is if there will be always lot of data, but only little bit of changes. So this deals with only the changes. It will copy the latest changes and then it will process and do the synchronization part. So what people will do is for SSRS reports, when they are synchronizing this database, they will not allow users to access this. Instead of that, all the report data source will be there, right? Report data source will be pointing to this production. What they will do is they'll make a change to the report data source so that it will point to this database. Once the synchronization is completed, again they will change the report source database so that it will point to this database. So this is high level and you don't need to worry about that. Why? Because users will give good enough time to synchronize. They'll say like early morning at 12 o'clock synchronize the database. So in that case, what you have to do? You have to take the script. You have seen it here, right? When we were synchronizing it asked oops, some problem. Let me check it. Okay, fine. You can take the script, right? So that script, another database object has the MSBI name. So already there is a database name. That's the problem it is showing. So let me refresh it. Oops, it has synchronized. It has created a new database. Okay. Why it has created a new database with the name synchronization? The problem here is how many of you guys remember the object ID concept? If you see the properties here, the object name is MSBI1 for this, and I renamed it to MSBI. But for this, the object name is MSBI _1, but the database name is so and so, and hence it has taken the object ID and then it changed. I mean, I don't want to confuse you guys with that. No, don't worry about this. Concentrate on the synchronization. You will not have this many databases like we discussed earlier. So let me delete all this stuff so that the confusion will be clear. Now I've struck two database names with the data MSBI has created. I need to delete all these things from the folder itself. Okay, I'll take care of that. Let's go back to the synchronization part. While synchronizing, what people will do is they will point to the staging or the another environment, the server. They'll point to this for all SSRS reports. Once the synchronization is completed, they'll point back to this. So this is the most frequently used. Okay, and then people prefer for deploying using database files which we discussed just before this, or XMLA scripts also people go further. So these are all the different ways, and you will find more ways to deploy the cube. This is not a limited one. People, whenever they get a new idea, they will try to implement whatever they feel is better for this particular scenario. They will go for that type of deployment. So that's it. We discussed about all the different types of deployments we can do in SSAS part. And by seeing this, don't get confused that we will use two cubes while moving the data while using synchronization. This happened because the object ID and the object name are not same for this. The object name is MSBI for this. The object ID is MSBI for this. So we discussed about this objects and ID and name while working on data sources and data source views. It always uses object ID to process, but it will show object names to us. So it has taken object ID to process, and hence this confusion has arisen. So I would have deleted all these files before starting the synchronization part. So ignore about that. Try synchronization in your machine. You will come to know how it works. Follow the same steps what I have explained. And we can change the object ID here. If you go to the properties, somewhere you will find the object ID. Yeah, until I deleted this one will be creating mess for me. There will be one property called object ID, and you are not allowed to change it here. Okay, you have to take care of it while creating or deploying the cube. And here only you will find most of the properties are read-only properties. In SSA solution, you can change the object ID using XML code, just like this. Let me show you that object ID and all wants to make the object ID here. The object name is AdventureWorks DW. If you go to the view code, you can see this is the object ID and this is the name. If I change the name here, it will change only the name but not ID. Right? You can see the name is changed but ID remains the same. If I try to create a new AdventureWorks data source view with the same name, I don't bother what are the tables I'm selecting. Let me take a couple of dummy tables. Okay, click on next. If you, I've given AdventureWorks DW. Sorry. And if you see, sorry, the view code of this, the object ID is given as AdventureWorks DW space 1. So it is going with the object ID while creating. It will check whether the object ID is present or not. If it is present, then it will concatenate 1. But in SSA's part here, we have missed that option. Let me go to the properties just because of that ID and change. See, this is the ID. This is read-only part. We cannot change it. Now I have done so much of shit for this server, and it has created and it is creating a lot of problems. Yeah. Let me take care of that offline. So what I want to highlight here is these are the different ways, and while synchronization, you don't need to worry about that, but make sure that you will rename it so frequently. Don't rename the cube so frequently, or if you rename, make a note of the IDs. You have to keep in mind that the ID of the each cube. Okay, and try all these different ways of restoring. And for deploying a new instance, it is nothing different. Just go for the same kind of installation what you have done for installing the first instance in your local computer. Go for the same, and when it asks for the instance name, give some instance name, like you can give your name or any other name. I have given SQL dev. You give your instance name like XYZ or ABC, whatever of your comfort. Click on next, and click on finish. the new instance will be created. And I've explained you how to see whether the new instance is created successfully or not, either by going to SQL Server Configuration Manager or by going to the particular folder in the Microsoft SQL Server folder. You can see it here, either here or by going to Configuration Manager, SQL Server Configuration Manager. You can find out whether the instance is inserted successfully or not. This is pretty important, very important, I can say. Why? Because people who are really experienced will come to know. Whenever they ask you about how you deployed the cube in your solution, the best way to start the answer is, I worked on multiple cubes till date, multiple projects till date, cube projects, and we implemented different types in different projects. And if you start explaining 2 to 3, then you will get 100% marks for this. Like, okay, this guy has real experience and he implemented different ways in moving the cube from production or one server to another server. So this is how you can gain good marks while giving interviews or something like that, or while cracking something. Um, okay, so this is about moving SSAS cubes from one server to another server. In next session, we're going to discuss about calculations, aggregations, actions, and KPIs. That will be the last session for SSAS, and after that we'll be starting MDX, the most trickiest and the most funniest and my favorite language, one of my favorite querying languages. Okay, we'll start with that from later sessions. Thank you.